Good afternoon. Welcome to Hanging with the Chads. I am one half of the Chads, Chad Springer. I'm joined by the best tag team partner ever, Chad Boudreaux. Boudreaux, how the heck are you doing?
Man, it's great. It's a great day in the sports world. Lots of things going on, records breaking, everything happening today.
You are right about that. And ladies and gentlemen, we aren't even going to wait to get started today. We are going to start with some breaking news. If you have not heard, if you have been under a rock, if you don't know what's going on in the sports world today, let me explain something to you, ladies and gentlemen. Alex Ovechkin, Alex the Great, has now officially become the all-time goals leader in the NHL history. And we got a little something special for you, courtesy of Twitter and Busting with the Boys. We're going to share it with you right now. We're going to show you how it happened. And we are going to start this right about now. Here we go.
No, he's just trying to find a seam and know that, hey, I'm going to try to force it to him if he's open.
Here is Ovechkin. Shoots. He scores. He scores. Number 895.
Ladies and gentlemen, that was absolutely amazing. Alex the Great, Alex Ovechkin, he has been with the Capitals since day one. He breaks the record. Boudreaux, 894 plus goals. How is it?
Look, so we've seen records go down in our time. I mean, we live in an age now where offense is dominating every sport, especially during regular season games. But every season now is a lot longer. Every body, technology, all that stuff. But Alex did it in the same amount of games. That's what's great about this one. It was the same amount of games as the great one had, and he breaks it. He goes one game less to tie him, and then breaks it on the same game. So that right there, that is what records are for, when you break them in less or exact amount of games. So congratulations, Alex. That's amazing.
Look, 895 goals, excuse me. I was talking about when he tied the record. 895 total goals in his amazing career. Like, does this make him the GOAT of hockey?
I mean, he's up there. You still can't take it away from the great one. Like I said, only because technology is different now. It's one of the only sports that is still, it hasn't changed a lot. Where, like football, you could say, where all the different rules have changed and made the game way more offensive. Basketball, the same thing, but it's to me, it's a tie between him and the great one. I'm an old soul, man. The great one is the great one, and that's where it's at.
You know, I'm not inclined to agree, but I will respectfully agree with your opinion. I think this makes Alex the greatest under one condition. He's stayed in Washington the whole entire time. He didn't leave. And, you know, when it comes to records, that means a lot to people. You know, when it comes to records, that means a lot to the voters and the naysayers of the world. But he never left Washington. Like Sid the Kid, he's never left Pittsburgh. However, don't get me wrong, Wayne Gretzky is a GOAT. If I had to put four on a mountain, it's going to be Gretzky, it's going to be Alex, it's going to be Sid the Kid, and it's probably going to be a goalie somewhere by the name of Roy from Colorado back in the day. But, you know, that's just my opinion. We get paid to say our opinion, not to get blasted on social media like some people like to do. But, you know, hey, I like that hoodie you got going on right now, bro. I like that hoodie.
Man.
Hey,
looking good.
You like the hoodie? Yeah. You know, shout out to the Pineapple Warehouse in Central Florida. Hey, if you need something made by them, they're going to be making our products for us. We're going to get some stuff out real soon for some pre-orders. But it looks good. Can't wait to get the hat. Can't wait to rock that too. Hopefully that'll be here tomorrow. But, you know, let's keep it moving. We're going to get into some amazing news for you. We got some F1 news coming up. Hey, this is Japan Grand Prix. Max ends up winning the pole and wins the race. He beat out the McLarens. He beat out Lando. He beat out Oscar. Yuki, he started 14th and 12th. Hey, give us some thoughts on that.
So Max did what Max always does, man. Max is the man can drive. You put him in any car, he's going to go out there and compete for wins. Now again, there was a little bit of controversy between him and Lando coming out of the pit or coming out of the box. Max had the spot. Lando tried to take in, and Lando ended up in the grass. During the post game or post race, Max was kind of funny. He looked at Lando, said, "Man, that was an expensive grass or lawnmower you have there," because he went through grass. So it was kind of funny. Yeah, it was kind of a lot of people were thinking it was kind of a boring race because, I mean, pretty much Max led from beginning to end. There wasn't a lot of overtaking going on. But that's what you get sometimes when it comes to F1. Some of the tracks, it's a lot harder to pass on. So I think it was overall kind of what expected once Max took the pole. I knew that he had a real good shot because it is Max. The one that did shock me is Yuki, because Yuki was flying during practices. He was outpacing Max in a couple of them. And then come the qualifying, he got through Q1, no problem, but then gets into Q2 and he just didn't have the stuff. I don't know what happened. I don't know if being that it's his home track, maybe something there. But yeah, I did not see Yuki doing that at all.
Yeah, it probably a little bit of nerves coming out there. I was reading online that there might be some turmoil, but we're not going to talk about that until people start, putting it out there a little bit more. However, Max is Max. He wins again. That gave him a good 25 points, or is it 50 points for first place? It's 25.
It's 28, 26, 26, I believe. 20, yeah, something like that.
You're the F1 guru. So, moving on, we have a lot of other things we need to talk about. We have a great show today with a great guest. We have a Navy veteran turned Army National Guard. I don't know if you want to call them soldiers, weekend warriors, whatever, but all the same. Jaymes Crain is going to be with us today. He's a former corpsman turned UAV pilot. Now that's going to be one heck of a conversation we're going to have. Let's kick it into second gear. Hey, we got some NBA news. The NBA Hall of Fame was announced yesterday with Carmelo Anthony and Dwight Howard leading the place. You got the USA 2008 Redeem Team being elected. So LeBron James and Chris Paul are going to be in the Hall of Fame before they even finish their careers. The great Sue Bird, Maya Moore, Sylvia Fowles, and Billy Donovan. Shout out UF, even though we don't like them. Current Chicago Bulls head coach Mickey Arison and Danny Crawford, the longtime NBA referee. They're all making it in the Hall of Fame. I'm super happy for Carmelo. We always knew he was going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer. Dwight Howard, with the way he started his career, he made himself look like a Hall of Famer from the beginning. But even Maya Moore, with her, vision and social activism and things like that, that's amazing to hear. Well deserved for all the Naismith Hall of Fame inductees. That's really exciting. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, so I'm actually really excited for the three ladies getting in there, because they're kind of, when you think of the WNBA and female basketball, you think of them, especially with our age. That's who we look at. Yeah, so I'm excited for those three. Melo, like we said, we all knew Melo was going to get in because Melo he was one of the dominant players when he was in the league. Dwight was one that kind of shocked me just a little bit, but you're right. It's just because how he started his career, kind of faded off towards the end. But he was Dwight Howard. He was a big man, and he dominated the league for a couple of years.
Superman, baby.
Yeah. Redeem Team. I mean, you get a Netflix special, you definitely get in. And then Billy Donovan. That one, he brought UF basketball on the map. I wouldn't say so much of what he did in the NBA so much would get him in there, but it's what he did at UF. I actually had a chance to meet him one time at a lacrosse tournament at Disney, and dude is the nicest guy I've ever met with that kind of stature. He made the lady driving the golf cart wait for me and my friend to get in a cart so they can drive us to the tournament. and then sat there and just talked a bunch of shit with us. So he's a great dude. I'm happy for him. And so, yeah, I think it was good choices all around, though.
Yeah, I love the fact, when a referee gets in, that is, you got to understand that guy's been around for a very, very, very long time. And, he's seen it all. He's done it all. Danny Crawford, well deserved. Mickey, a lot of people say Pat Riley is the guy that helped build the Heat. Mickey's the one that kept him around, I believe, so we're excited to see that. And, shout out UConn. It's like every female that plays basketball at UConn, they're going to the Hall of Fame. And speaking of UConn right now, they are currently playing right now for the women's national championship against South Carolina, and we're working on getting a score update right now. So
they were winning when we came on air. So
right now, pulling it up. Let me just pull up the old handy dandy.
They're up 56-40 right now.
56-40, and now 57-40. It just updated for me. Hey, Paige Beckers, she's having an off night. She only has 11 points, but Miss Azia Food, if I said her name correctly, the senior from Arlington, Virginia, she has 24 right now. And then we have someone like Sarah Strong. She already has a double-double. That girl is a freshman, 15 points, 13 boards in the national championship game. A lot of people was putting South Carolina to be, the favorite to win. South Carolina has a really, really strong team, but they're just not getting it done right now. They're 2 for 11 behind the 3-point line right now, and it's probably what's holding them back. They're pacing the rebounds though, but it looks like we got the Huskies are just sharing the rock. So that's going to be real interesting to see, if the score holds up. UConn, I mean, what is that, 1 million national championship they won? Gino's the dog, man. He's a GOAT for a reason. And, so we're just going to see how that holds up. But let's flip over to the men's real quick. Last night, the Final Four started off with Florida defeating Auburn. Walter Clayton Jr., shout out Bartow, baby, 34 points last night. And, that was a back and forth game, but the depth of Florida just caught up with them. Then Houston rallying 14 down, and they upset. And yes, I'm going to say upset. They upset our boy, Mr. Flag, and the Duke Blue Devils. So now Monday night, 8:50, Florida, Houston. I'm thinking Florida's going to pull it out, man.
See, I'm not sure. I've said this from the beginning, and both games last night or yesterday were amazing. It was back and forth both games. I mean, Duke had that lead for a while, but Houston came back into it. But yeah, I don't know if Florida is going to have legs, man. I still don't think the SEC has the legs. Like the Houston game, yeah, Duke fumbled it at the end. There was a little bit of controversy with the foul they called on Cooper, right towards the end of the game. But that didn't have any bearing really on the collapse of Duke at the end of that game. They were talking about it this morning, and I agree. Duke was a lot of young guys. Houston's the KG veterans that they're all junior, senior guys, and they know how to finish out games. And Duke had that lead, and they just didn't know how to finish it. But yeah, I don't know about Florida, man. I really don't. Houston, they play a really tough defense, and they're so athletic and fast. It's gonna be hard, I think, towards the end of that game for Florida to keep up with them.
Well, it's going to be an exciting game nonetheless. 8:50 tip-off time Monday night. I mean, it's going to be a late one. Tuesday might be a little rough trying to wake up if we want to stay up and watch it. Luckily, I have no home games Tuesday, so it could be a good day to take some half-a-days, But, speaking of collapse, the epic collapse of our tournament challenge is official. I don't even want to say this on air. I just want people to read it. And it's going to suck for you going into work probably Monday or Tuesday. Man, I can't get the words out of my mouth right now. It's just tough, man.
Yeah, Coach Van, shout
Thank
out,
you.
brother. Like, I know it does hurt. He's definitely gonna seek me out tomorrow. He's gonna seek me out, especially if Houston wins on Tuesday. But yeah, shout out. I mean, what do we get? What do we expect from somebody who's coached D1 at major SEC universities? Like how we shot our shot, and I mean, again, what do you expect out of it?
I expected to win, but if I was to lose, I didn't want to lose to him. Of
Right.
everybody I was to lose to, him and possibly TK would be the only two I didn't want to lose to in our bracket. And by God, I mean, we went from first to 10th in a matter of hours, and it was horrible, you know. So, Van, we're gonna get you something. It's in the mail eventually. So, hey, you know, it is what it is, and it ain't what it ain't. You know what they say. But shout out to him for picking the most teams correct. And if Houston wins on Monday, then he's going to get some bragging rights for the next year. But I will tell you, he does suck at fantasy football. He has not won a championship. Just saying, I beat him for a championship in fantasy football. I got my ring, so I'll take that over winning the tournament challenge any day of the week. Hey, with that being said, let's take us pause for a little bit of a minute. We're gonna have our very special guest on momentarily, Jaymes Crain. Ladies and gentlemen, we will be right back. Thank you for hanging out with the Chads. And we are back, ladies and gentlemen. We got a very, very special guest. Jaymes Crain is going to be joining us, and really excited. I've known this individual for about 6 years now. He's a really good guy, really great coach. He has a really good story he's going to share with all of us today. And without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, Jaymes Crain is in the house. Hey, James, how we doing?
It'd probably help if I didn't have my mic muted. Hey, what's going on, everybody?
Hey, what's up, Crain? How we doing?
We're doing good.
Doing good. Welcome to the show. Welcome to Hanging with the Chad. Hey, this is a podcast where we speak about coaching, we speak about military life, we speak about education, we speak about a lot of things. And you're a great individual to come on today. Thank you for taking the time out of your busy day and helping us. Hey, Mr. Crain is a former corpsman in the United States Navy. He's turned into an Army National Guard individual. He's a 15W, which is a UAV operator. I'm assuming you're a drone operator.
Yeah. So you hear the term drone and you think, something small. Most UAVs are 400 plus pounds. They're basically baby planes. So yeah, that's generally what we operate.
That's awesome, man. And you ready to get started? You ready to get some information out to the real world going?
Yeah, but one pause. I was watching just an interesting fact to kind of piggyback off of your previous segment. The closest active player to Ovechkin's record is Sidney Crosby with 619 goals.
Still 280 away.
I mean, and the thing is Crosby's not a slouch. Like, he's one of the greatest players to ever play, and he's that far behind. So that just, But anyway, let's get right into it.
Hey, look, if you want to talk about hockey, we can talk about hockey with you. So, ladies and gentlemen, Jaymes Crain. Mr. Crain, for the listeners that aren't aware, give us a quick little background. What do you do? What have you done? Where you been? Hook us up with a little bit of information.
So currently, I'm a high school teacher in Fayetteville, North Carolina area. I teach drone technology. I started out teaching history at the middle school level. Then I moved into entrepreneurship and accounting. The county launched a drone program, and it was something that I was familiar with. So I said, hey, I can pilot that for my school. That's how I ended up there. In my early life, I grew up in Pennsylvania. I enlisted in the Navy out of Harrisburg there, and went through that training pipeline, went through field medical service school, which helped me go play with Marines and things of that nature. So that was an interesting experience. Did all my time in 29 Palms, got stuck out in the middle of the desert. Got out, went back home, finished my first degree in history, and I got into a graduate program at the University of Pittsburgh. Had some things happen where I had to withdraw, and then moved back down to North Carolina with my extended family. Managed to go into it used to be called lateral entry if you didn't have a traditional teaching degree. I got into teaching. My second year teaching is where I met Mr. Springer here. He and I were co-head coaches at Overhills Middle School, running football.
Shout out Overhills Middle School.
Right. And then after that, I took a little bit of a break from education. I didn't quite know if it was for me or not. And then I got back into it. At the high school that I'm currently at, I coached track and field, men's track and field for 3 years. I was the head coach there. And I've also coached wrestling in the past at the middle school level. So I've always been somewhat involved in military and coaching and things of that nature. So that's kind of where my life has led me. And that's kind of where I'm landed right now.
Awesome, man. Awesome. So your coaching, your background in coaching, your background in athletics, how have you applied what you've learned from the military and all your years of military service into actually coaching your sports?
So I think one of the biggest things that anybody that's been in or around the military can vouch for is time organization and time commitment. So a lot of young athletes don't understand how that works. And one of the questions I'll ask athletes when they're like, oh, I got to go get a job. I go, well, how long do you get to play high school football? And the carbon copy answer is always, oh, I got 4 years. I said, no, you don't. You get 1 year. And they're like, what do you mean? I said, your season lasts how long if you make it into the playoffs, if you're lucky? Maybe 3 months. You do that for 4 years and you add it all up. How much time do you actually get to spend competing, growing, and learning if you're in that season? And they kind of look at me and they pause and like, it's only a year. And I'm like, you have to manage your time in a proper way. And I'm not, I tell them I'm not encourage you to specialize. Like, yes, be in your other sports, but understand that when you miss a practice, when you miss a workout, when you slack on an assignment in any sport that you're in, you're robbing yourself of critical development time that you don't have enough of to move on to the next level. The military really drives home the point that time management matters more than almost anything else. You can do without equipment, you can do without funding, you can do without a lot of things. But if you don't manage time, which I think is the most important resource that most militaries have, you're never going to be effective in combat. And that kind of translates to high school athletics. You look at, perfect example, you take football. You got a quarterback that shows up to every workout. He knows his playbook. He has game IQ, game knowledge, but he's not the most athletic, right? And you get the kid that's blessed athletically, and he slacks and he just figures his ability to run fast is going to get him playing time. Cool. You're an athletic specimen. You don't know the playbook. You don't know defenses, and you get intercepted 5 out of 6 times. That time management for the one that was dedicated, it was what made him stand out. It wasn't that he had natural ability. It was he managed his time to get a product. So I think that is what I try to take away from the military the most. Like, what are you going to do with the time you have? It's going to pass regardless of what you do. What do you do with it?
Awesome. We appreciate that insight on
us
that.
As Marines, we know all about not having any funding and not having any.
Look, man, I was right there with you. I was like, I got to maintain 2 sea bags. You don't even pay me for the first one that I have.
Hey, that's why we use you to take us everywhere.
Exactly.
Right?
You was the cheapest Uber I ever been in, bro.
Hey, it works.
Boudreaux, next question.
Yeah. So, I mean, you said earlier that you were in 29 Palms.
Mm-hmm.
I'm kind of going away from the coaching thing real quick. I was in 29 Palms. What did you think of that desert, man?
It's weird, right? You love and hate it at the same time. So it's brutal. It's isolating. There's nothing to do, but at the same time, it's kind of this Zen existence. You don't have to worry about much because there's nothing to worry about. So when you get a chance to get away from it, you appreciate it. And then when you leave, you're like, I wonder what's going on out there in that crappy place that exists in this armpit of the world.
Hey, look, man, I do not envy you guys at all. The closest I got to 29 Palms was San Diego. It felt really beautiful down there. You know, hey, they say if you go to 29 Palms, you should be a 300 PFTer because there's nothing else to do out there.
There's not. other than get in trouble in PT, there's nothing to do out there. You know?
Oh man. So you started this transition from the military into education. You spoke about lateral entry. Lateral entry is it's similar to how we have Florida. If you got a 4-year degree in something, you can take a test and pass it. Basically, is what it is.
Correct.
So you went from accounting to history to now the drone program. Does your job in the Army as a 15 whiskey actually make it easier for you to teach that class? And whenever you have like your evaluations and observations, is your expertise actually taken into account of that by your, evaluating admin? They actually like, I'm assuming you're in the CTE world of what it is. So it's safe to say like they're going to trust you and understand that you know what you're doing. So when your evaluations are more like a, hey, how you doing type thing, or are they actually like trying to drill you on it to make sure you know what you're doing?
So oddly enough, the way North Carolina does their evaluations, they don't even take into account the subject that you teach. And I'll speak on that a little bit more in a second. But nobody in the building knows what drone technology is. I'm the only unicorn. My military experience 100% helps me with it, because what I teach for the Part 107 was what my ground school was to become an operator. So it was something I was very familiar with, and I understand application beyond real estate photos. So I can pull stuff up for the kids. I'm like, this is a law enforcement application. This is a military application. This is what you could expect if you go into X, Y, or Z career field. So I get to pull some of that real world experience into the classroom for them and show them, like, I know it doesn't seem like much. However, this is what it'll turn into if you pursue it. And I get a good response from it. I found that if I'm brutally honest with my students up front, there's more of a buy-in. So I never kind of, I don't do the smoke and mirrors that they try to get teachers to do. It's like, this is what you're going to face. This is what will happen if you don't do this. And they kind of look at me, deer in the headlights. And after about a week, they go, okay, I get it now. And it's a much better response, because they want to know the why behind everything more so than anything else. So I give them the why first, like, this is why we have to do it. I don't like it, but we have to. Yeah. And that's kind of how I approach that.
Now, with you teaching this subject, is it safe to say that there's a lot of fun field trips that can be had where you get to go to, say the police drone operation division, or, even the nearest, Army substation or military installation for the drones? Is there like, chance for the kids to actually go see it firsthand, or is it just everything you're teaching them in the class?
So, well, there's three levels to it. So there's drone fundamentals, drone 1, and drone 2. In fundamentals, they just get exposed to it. Drone 1, they get their information, get their license. Drone 2, they fly. So I have equipment in the classroom. They call it commercial off the shelf, which is a smaller, it's a group 2, so it weighs less than 55 pounds. And they map, they fly, and they do a lot of the trips we take. We went out to Emerging Technologies Institute, which is a place over in Red Springs. They do some military contracting. We've gone to, there's a company called Blue Ridge Power. They use drones to map their solar fields. We take them to the local technical college like Fayetteville Tech, UNC Pembroke, and all those things. And we show them how that drone skill. So perfect example, I had a student, and he was one of those kids that was just so smart he was bored, didn't know what he wanted to do. And we have a local community collaboration program with Blue Ridge Power. So they have a construction apprenticeship, because building the solar fields is a construction function. And because of his skill set in my class, they drew him into the engineering department. So straight out of high school with a free internship and 120 hours, after all of his onboarding was done, he was making $105K a year straight out of high school with no degree.
Hey, can I come take this class?
Now watch gets better. That's his base salary. He gets 58K a year tax-free per diem.
Okay, so we're gonna go reclass. Can we reclassify back to 12th graders and do this?
So watch. Here's all you have to do, right? And the thing is people hear drone and they think it's inaccessible, right? So what I tell them is that drone technology and computers are much the same. So in the 80s, when computers first came out, we knew they did things. We just didn't know what. Drone is the same way. We know drones do things. We just don't know how we're going to get them to do things. So the average person you can go on Amazon. You can look for the Part 107 study guide. It's a book about yay thick. You read through the questions, study for about a month. You'll go pass. Then it's a matter of, okay, I need to get flight time. I need to prove that I have application and things like that. You can freelance if you want. If you like to travel, you can get on with all these companies that do solar inspection, roof inspection, gas pipeline inspection, wind turbine, all that stuff. One of the guys in my unit does that. And if you get on with them, they'll be like, we'll pay you $100 for every tower that you can inspect. Most people get about 7 or 8 in a day. And that's if you use their equipment. They're like, if you have your own equipment, we'll pay you 120 a day. So you can kind of create your own schedule and contracting your 1099. So like, if you like the freedom to move around, you can. There's limitless what you can do with it, because the ways that it manipulates the perspective, bridge inspection, crop inspections, like perfect example. So Florida, the northern part of Florida towards top of the state where agriculture goes on. Crop inspection used to consist of, let's say you had a 10,000 acre farm where you're doing sugarcane, tobacco, cotton, whatever. Once a year, once every 5 years, somebody would come out, and every 3 feet, every 8 feet, whatever it was, they'd take a core sample. It cost you $8 a core sample. Well, if you got 10,000 acres, that adds up really fast, right? What they can do now with the drones, throw the drone in the air, and it has what's called a multispectral payload or camera. It will scan the plant life. And because plants absorb and reflect infrared light that we can't see, the camera picks that up and it can tell you it's healthy, it's getting adequate hydration or not, low spots, all that stuff. It can be done in a day. Then they narrow that down to a subsection, fly those 2 acres. It's like, okay, you only need 4 core samples and your crops are good. And this can be done remotely. Anywhere in the world. They can do construction projects. Like the amount of things that these tiny little things can do that are like anywhere from $4,000 to $30,000, depending on the application, which sounds like a lot. But when you look at the amount of money that they save a company, it's pennies for them. And that's why they're jumping all over it. So we try to expose the kids to that.
That's great, man. And that type of money, like technology now, like too bad the state of Florida doesn't allow drones at football games or any athletic events. But, you know.
Do you know why? Do you know why, though? It happened in North Carolina. Do you know why that happened?
Please explain.
So several years ago, there was a championship game, and they had the drone in the middle of the uprights. And they kicked the field goal, and the ball hit the drone and bounced back out. And it interfered with the outcome of the game. So the NCHSS, the governing body of North Carolina high school athletics, was like, you can't, when the official is on the field in an official capacity pre or post game, can't have a drone in the air.
Yeah, that's kind of interesting. I would have hated to been on that sideline where I kicked a drone, because I probably would have lost my ever loving mind. If you want to know, they would have found out who the Marine was real quick. Hey, and speaking of funniness, right here, hey Boudreaux, listen to Crane's story. He is a Navy corpsman attached to the Marine who now flies things in the Army, living in an Army town.
Mm-hmm.
So he's hit like literally all 4 branches minus the Space Force. You know, he's basically done it all. Like,
I've had a pretty interesting career, yeah.
Oh, Vietnam, baby, you can't go wrong over there. Shout out Spring Lake.
Yep.
Shout out Spring Lake. Boudreaux, next question.
So, moving towards the coaching and stuff, and your athletic experiences, what was it like playing D2 football and running track at the college level?
So it was a shocking experience. So I grew up in a very small town in north central Pennsylvania. So I grew up between here and there. Dad was military as well. So when he was off, doing his thing, I was with grandma. And I grew up in a single A school, 7th through 12th grade. We had 500 kids. So, I played both ways, special teams, all that stuff. And you get to the college level and it becomes a full-time job. Like, you don't have downtime. You don't have a social life outside of the people on your team. And the expectations, even at the D2 level, become very, very high. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that I tried to impart on my athletes was the only difference between D2 and D1 is generally size. It's not skill. It's not ability. It's not speed. It's generally just raw size. So you get none of the accolades, none of the exposure, and sometimes more expectation because your programs are smaller. Like, hey, if you're going to be here and we're going to give you any kind of funding or money, you have to produce at a high level. So I only played football for 1 season, and then I focused on track, and it was It was brutal because both my coaches who are still active in competition were race walkers and distance runners. I was a sprinter and I also threw. So it was one of those things where the first year they're like, hey, you have to be here 3 weeks before the semester starts, which basically meant I got a week off in the summer. And we showed up and we're running 2-a-day practices. I'm like, man, this is track in college. And one Tuesday morning, they're like, hey, we got 15 and 15. I'm like, what's that? And he's like, you run 15 minutes out and then you run 15 minutes back. I was like, consecutively? Because I never ran more than a quarter mile in high school. I mean, it didn't have to. And it becomes really clear really fast that your ability to stay disciplined and rather than motivated to improve matters more than your raw talent. And you start to see that if you follow a program, you start to see results. And as a young athlete, you don't want to do that. You remember the fun times in high school. And, I got attention for winning races and being good or scoring touchdowns and stuff like that. And it goes from, hey, look at me to, all right, how do you help the team? How do you fit in with this? And it's one of those things where it's a rude awakening. If you're not willing to play on a team or be part of an organization in an unselfish manner, you don't last very long.
That is very true. Look, there is, the old saying, there's no I in team. And then Kobe Bryant says, well, there's the me in that. Well, guess what? We're not Kobe. So, that's good points that you make there. College, whenever I went to college, I mean, I wasn't playing for sports. I'd got out of the Marine Corps and went to college. And obviously, like my little brother, he played football in college. And, I'm just seeing them do them 5 a.m. winter workouts. I'm like, they're complaining about it. And then, college kids complaining about the 8 a.m. class. I'm like, you don't know nothing about anything until you have to check out a rifle at 4 a.m. and go all the way down to Stone Bay and wait until 10 a.m. before you touch your rifle again. But, yeah, you're right. It is a totally different beast, man. And so speaking of having that experience in college and coaching the kids now, what advice do you generally give your kids who's like, oh, coach, man, I want to go to college, man. I want to go D1, but maybe they might not be D1. Like how do you give them that advice, those hard advice?
So the first thing I tell them, I said, okay, cool. If you want to be D1, you have to be D1 everywhere. And that starts in the classroom. If you don't have grades, I don't care how fast you are. The only place you're going to go is Purdue. And I don't mean college. I mean chicken farm, because they have to have a product, right? They have to have a product that stands up and shows their pedigree. So I was like, perform in the classroom to the best of your ability first. And then everything else you do has to be D1. Do you go to bed on time? Is your diet D1? Is your discipline D1? Because that's different than motivation. You're not always going to be motivated. Do you listen? Are you coachable? You have to have everything across the board. You can have D1 talent, but everything else is, I don't even go on to the next level. Yeah. And then I say, okay, now be realistic with yourself. You might be a D1 athlete, but are you D1 AA? University of Charlotte's D1, but nobody knows that. You have to be realistic. What do I hope to get out of football or from football? Is it a free education? Is it life experience? Is it discipline? I said, you can go to a D2 school for free, never pay a dime, get that experience, and you made it to the next level. You're in that 1% of kids that makes it to the next level. So you have to understand that being good here in the Sandhills of North Carolina, you're a big fish in a little pond. You show up to a D3 or a JUCO, guess what? Everybody's just as good as you are. You're in the depth chart now. Mm-hmm. You have to find a way, whether it's running precision routes, whether it's being a good person on a relay team, whether it's being willing to wrestle any way that you want. How do you separate yourself after you've done everything else that everyone else does? What makes you different or what makes you keepable on a roster matters. I don't care what your 40 is. And, as much as I dislike the GOAT of college football, Mr. Alabama Saban there, when he talks about he never had a NFL scout say, how good was he as a freshman? It was, what did he develop into? And that's the thing that a lot of high school athletes don't realize. And I struggled with this. We would go to a track meet and my sprinters, they would see somebody that was faster than them and they'd scratch out of the event. They are afraid of adversity and they are afraid of real competition. And I was like, taking second place is okay. If you can't compete against real competition, why are you here? So don't be afraid to go out and do the best that you can and not be the best at what you're doing. That's the only way you get better. And that's the thing. Coaches look at, well, where were they at as a freshman? What did they develop into? And what can I continue to develop them into? So be coachable and be disciplined in your pursuit of what you're going after. That'll get you further than being good one time. Consistency over perfection.
Yeah, that was the one thing that I can't stand, because I coached track for a couple of years and I did distance in college. And the one thing I couldn't stand was when my athletes would walk up to me right before the event and be like, "What do you want my splits to be?" And I tell them flat out, I'm like, "I don't care. Beat the person in front of you."
Yeah, PR. Chasing PR. This is about you being better than you. Yeah.
Yeah. It was like it's the one thing that annoyed me with track. And yeah, you're right. It's just the competition now, like if it's not me, it's like don't worry about that guy. I'm just gonna walk away today.
Mm-hmm. And then they don't understand why they get beat later in the season, because you didn't compete with these people.
Right.
Yep, absolutely. Boudreaux, another question?
Yeah, just what do you think schools and coaches could do better to prepare students for life after high school, whether it's college, military, job force? So
this is going to be a controversial opinion. I don't think there's enough accountability. And perfect example, Coach Springer and I got caught up in a debacle one time that was rather stupid. We were in the middle of practice, and our football players were goofing around, and we happened to say, "Hey, shut up, pay attention." And a parent from an opposing school of an athlete who was playing soccer, totally unrelated to us, took such offense to it that they went to the school board, and we had to go stand on the carpet and apologize. And it was so frustrating. And the reason I bring that up is this: there's no accountability for their negative actions, right? We can send these young men and women out onto a field of athletic competition to get concussions and blow out their MCLs and have potentially life-ending or life-altering injuries, but we can't hold them accountable and tell them to shut up. Now, I'm not saying that we need to verbally abuse kids, but sometimes you got to find a way to rattle them. And that's infinitely kind compared to what my coaches used to tell me. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that they need to be verbally abused in the same way. But what I have noticed in all my years of being part of an education system as a student and a student athlete to being a teacher and a coach is the level of accountability continues to drop. Oh, he missed practice. You can't kick him off the team. His parents will get mad. Well, that's true, but are you going to back your athletic program, or are you going to back the poor enabling mannerisms of a parent? Now, don't get me wrong. Everybody wants their child to succeed, and you want to defend your child. That's great. You should. But I feel like we cripple these children by giving them the impression that no matter what wrong they do, they'll be rewarded. And I just think that's poor, because accountability, if you go into the military and you have no accountability, you're not going to be there long, or you're going to hate your existence there, because people are going to come down on you like a ton of bricks.
Tree line.
Yeah, right.
The tree line.
Especially if you're in a combat arms MOS where you could be the difference between life or death. Okay, cool, dude. Now come over here one time. That guy's got 4 kids. That guy's got 4 kids. That guy's got 2 kids and a wife. Do you want to be the reason that he doesn't go home to that family? And do you really want to be around all the people that know his family when you screw up? That's real accountability that comes at you like a freight train real fast when you're in a combat arms. These kids don't understand that their choices have consequences because they're so insulated from it. They show up late to class, nothing happens to them. They show up late to practice. Oh, I'm a good athlete. Nothing's going to happen to me. Things of that nature. And when you have a proactive coach or teacher that tries to, generally somebody comes to them and it's not their choice. Higher up ties the athletic director's hands and says, well, you can't punish them that way. You have to give them a 3rd, a 4th, a 5th, a 7th chance. And it's like, at what point do we let them? And I'm not saying we have to come down on them, hard, but we have to let them feel the repercussions of their choices. And that, I don't think that happens that much. And I think it gives this false sense of reality that if I just do this one thing good, I can get away with anything. And then you see unlimited potential get thrown away because they never learned the simple thing of, I got to hold myself accountable, right? Because if somebody else holds you accountable, and the Marines is great for that, that first time a corporal or a sergeant holds you accountable and goes, hey, this is why you're jacked up. And this is how you stop getting your face smashed into the ground. You start to take some personal accountability. You show up with a haircut on Monday. You show up with the proper uniform. And then you distance yourself from all the other, jackwagons that are being dumb, because you realize, oh, hey, if I go ahead and police myself, I don't get in any trouble anymore. They don't do that.
Hey, look, I completely agree with you. Accountability is where it's at. And, again, controversial as it may be, the parents, the school systems, the districts, the school itself, they entrust us to take care of those kids for, 10, 15 hours a day. So the positive off of that is, sometimes we get to build those relationships with the kids that, we know which kids that we got to put in a chokehold, unofficially a chokehold, maybe a headlock. And we know which kids that we need a hug and tell them we love them.
Right. Exactly.
And at the end of the day, it's just when you hold them accountable, they learn. Speaking of the military, I used to go to the tree line for fun. Thank you, Sergeant, Staff Sergeant, and Gunny, and First Sergeant, Master Sergeant Riley, who I deployed with, one of the greatest NCOs I've ever had. He would just take me to the tree line just to take me, because that was his love. That's the way he showed love. Shout out Alabama on that one. He still owes me money from the 2009 Iron Bowl, though, when Cam Newton came back and beat Alabama.
That was the greatest thing. Well, Tennessee beating them 2 out of 3 times. It was a great day to be a Vols fan.
Yeah. Hey, look, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back with Jaymes Crain. We're going to finish off with a little fun segment we like to do. And just bear with us for a few minutes. We'll be right back, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for hanging with the Chads. And we are back with Jaymes Crain and Chad Boudreaux and Chad Springer. Hey, Crain, we really appreciate you being here today. We always like to have a lot of fun on the show. So we're gonna test you a little bit here, sir. We got a segment that we like to do called What Would You Rather?
Okay.
And we got 3 questions we're gonna ask you today. The first question is, what would you rather run, rocket toss or jet sweep?
Rocket toss all day.
38
rocket toss. Well, here's the thing though, right? So I mean, even though I don't coach football anymore, my thing is I've looked at, so like I look at the Texas slot tee and the flex bone, which is what I kind of really ran in the wing tee. And the thing is, I feel like if high schools would adapt and run a shotgun tee, which you and I have talked about, you can get the wishbone actions out of that shotgun with the wing tee and the slot tee motions. Like that play that I sent you the other day where they had 2 false guards pulling and it was just a center blast with a fullback. The linebackers literally took themselves out of the play. So 38 rocket toss all day long just because.
I had to change the name. I call it orbit, by the way. Now it's called orbit.
It is because it is an orbit motion. I mean, that's a kind of a semantics thing. Technically, it's an orbit motion.
It is definitely an orbit motion that I call orbit motion, but I also call it orbit on the run. It's kind of crazy. Yeah. Boudreaux, we know you're not a wing tee connoisseur like we are. So if I ask you this question, are you going to be able to answer it truthfully?
No, I'll answer truthfully. Look, dude, I'm an LSU Tiger, and we ran a shitload of jet sweep when we won in 2019. So, I mean, that's where I'm at, dude. Like, come on.
So the thing is, here's the thing, though, right? If you have a slot tee setup, so the way slot tee works, if you haven't seen it, go watch some Liberty Hill footage. When they line up, they run a sugar huddle, and all the linemen are 4-point stance because they are 80% run. They have a jet motion, right? But what happens is they have a jet and then a backside orbit. So you get both misdirections at the same time. So it depends. It becomes a dilemma for the defense. How do we want them to fold? Okay, run the jet motion stuff. They have to honor it, especially if that jet back is fast, which generally he is. But they can't just jump on the jet because now you have a pulling guard motion and then a buck sweep style thing back the other way. Where do you want to get beat? And generally what happens is they run both those motions. It's just the fullback dive, and he pushes for 6 yards, and they look dumb anyway. So,
hey, shout out Slot T Mafia. I know one of our previous guests, Austin Trotter, is a believer in the Slot T Mafia. So shout out Slot T Mafia. Yep. Hey, next question here. The big question here. What would you rather coach, a football team entirely of track athletes or a track team entirely of offensive linemen?
Oh, that's easy. So I am a supporter of Tony Holler. If you're not familiar with who he is a high school football and track coach out of Illinois, and he runs the Track and Football Consortium. And here's the thing. Speed is the tide that raises all boats, right? So here's the thing. If I had a football team full of all track athletes that were fast, all I have to do is run wing T and I can grind you into the dust. And here's why. I have a backfield of 3 backs. I have 2 backup backs and a quarterback that knows how to read. I don't care what you got. Eventually, in the third quarter, when you're tired of watching these yahoos run back and forth, you're going to fold. So I would rather have an entire stable full of good track athletes that gave me speed, because here's the thing. Once I have you tired, then I can just switch into a spread and run spacing the whole rest of the game. It doesn't matter.
All day long.
All day long, because now that you're tired and those linebackers and those DBs have been lulled to sleep, because all a flex bone is our old spread pattern tightened down. That's all it is. So I bumped that to the hashes, or one side of that, so it looks like a wing tee, and you just run the spacing, and they bite on that run action, and they're cooked. So
speed kills, man.
Speed kills. So
it kills. That's it. I mean, give me the track team. Give me the football team and the track athlete.
Something you guys should look up at Pennsylvania AA state championship this year. It was a thing of beauty. They ran midline and traditional triple option, but here's the catch. They had a wideout that no matter what the throw was, contested or not, he'd go up and catch it. They literally stomped through 2A, mercy ruled everybody until they got to the second round of the playoffs, knocked off Southern Columbia, who at one time had the longest undefeated streak. I think they've won 13 out of the last 20 state championships or some crap like that. Phenomenal team, and all they ran was smash mouth, double tight, midline read, and triple option.
Hey, speed kills. You give me 4 fast wide receivers, a fast running back, and a quarterback. Mm-hmm. Hey, we'll just go underneath or run jet sweeps all day long with you. Yep. All right. Hey, this is the biggest question. This is going to really tell us what type of person you are. All right. What would you rather have? The McDonald's bring back the smokehouse burgers, or the Tennessee Volunteers finally winning a college football playoff national championship?
Brah, the Vols all the way. I mean, here's the thing. McDonald's menu, that changes all the time. However, I will say this. For them to win, they have to keep playing lights out defense. And that was the difference between this year. But I want to give a huge shout out to Coach Heupel, and here's why. He walked into something that had been destroyed, I think, secretly by Nick Saban, because every coach that ruined football after Fulmer came from that Alabama coaching tree. Lane Kiffin, loser. Anyway.
Hey, don't talk about Cousin Lane like that.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
I would absolutely love to see Tennessee win a national championship in football. I mean, their athletic director has been killing it. All of their sports are doing, like, they operate at a high level right now. And when you look at Heupel's offense, they're not a passing first team. They're a run first team. They run that dilemma ISO. They run buck sweep and blasts and things of that nature to a high level of execution, to the point that when you come up to stop it, the seams are open down the hash. So when Jalen Hyatt caught 5 touchdown passes against Alabama, all they were doing was running a stack split and exposing the seam, and he was wide open all the time. So, I mean, I think they have a chance. They just have to keep doing what they're doing. The problem is when we get a good defensive set, our coach goes somewhere else, which – I mean, everybody aspires to be a head coach, right? It's hard to stay somewhere. Like, if you're making $80,000 a year as a defensive coordinator and somebody says, hey, we'll pay you $350,000 a year to come over here and coach at this D2 school. I mean, you have to follow that. And that's what Heupel himself did. I mean, he was at Oklahoma, and then he went to UCF and all those other things. Unofficial national champions, by the way.
Yep.
And
I was gonna get there.
Right. So I definitely, I mean, I've been a Vols fan. You know, we haven't won anything since '98, and we keep screaming, oh, it feels like '98. No, it doesn't. It does not.
It feels like 2024, buddy.
But I will say this: we have Nico, and we picked up 2 of the best quarterbacks in the recruiting classes behind him. And it's one of those things where, you know, Hendon Hooker was right out of Dudley up here in North Carolina. Mm-hmm. And, you know, they played against Cape Fear that year. Cape Fear lost to his high school the year that they went to state. And he was part of that team. And, you know, Joe Milton and all those other guys, not that it's quarterback you, but kids that want to play quarterback are going, okay, Heupel won a national championship. He's going to coach me that way. They're doing something at Tennessee that Tom Brady spoke to. They develop their players, where a lot of other schools expect you to show up and like, hey, fit in this scheme, win a national championship, and then go away. We don't care what happens after that. And that's the problem. And that's why you see like Bryce Young and Mac Jones and Drake May and all these other guys. They didn't develop beyond, hey, just go out here and play backyard football and throw some touchdown passes. The speed of the game, I think, is what's defeating them. It's not that they're undersized. Drew Brees was the same size as these guys, and he shredded offenses. Like went out there, could run it, didn't matter. Defense didn't know what hit him because they developed him. And I think that's something that's lacking. And I feel like Tennessee is bringing that back, or at least I hope they will.
Boudreaux, I don't even have to ask you that question. I know you're going to want the McDonald's Smokehouse Burger because you don't want Tennessee to be successful.
Hey, everybody hates Tennessee except a Tennessee fan. That's the existence.
That's not true, man. And anybody who hates Alabama is a friend of me, so I'm good with that. So,
or Georgia.
Hey, You know what? If Tennessee beats Alabama this year, I'll gladly smoke a stogie with you.
That's right. But you know what? I don't mind losing to LSU because the pedigree's there. Like, here's the thing. Like, Alabama fans and Georgia fans are obnoxious. LSU fans, they could be 0-17 and they still ride for LSU. Georgia and Bama fans are fair weather. I don't care what anybody says. If they're not winning, it's not Roll Tide. It's like, well, the refs, they cheated and we should have won. LSU's just like, we'll get you next year. We're going to go eat some gumbo. See ya.
Yeah. Go Tigers.
Go Tigers.
Hey, well, look, ladies and gentlemen, this is Jaymes Crain. He's a Navy veteran turned Army National Guard UAV pilot. He is an educator. He is a coach. We appreciate him coming and hanging with the Chads today. That is all we have for you. Crain, please let us know next time you want to come back on. We'll get it rocking and rolling again. Boudreaux, what are the last words we're going to say for everybody today?
Be better.
Be better. 100%.
Be better. Ladies and gentlemen, make sure you like, follow, retweet, reshare everything we have to offer here at Hanging with the Chads. We appreciate you. We love you. Until next time, I'm Chad Springer. I got the greatest tag team partner in the world, Chad Boudreaux. This is Jaymes Crain, our special guest, and we are out of here, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for hanging with the Chads. Until next time.